This is the Wandering Chronicles podcast. I'm Ashley, and
I'm Jamie.
So, are you ready to go on another journey with us?
I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm already here. I didn't have as far to go this time as you did.
No, I had to travel quite a bit. I hitchhiked this time.
That seems ill-advised.
Well, I figured go with it. Why not?
It's a choice.
It was a choice. Not a good choice. But I felt like channeling a time before, worrying about whose car you got into.
Oh, so okay. Are we setting the scene?
Caution to the wind and hitchhiked.
I like it. Well, I just drove. I'm only a couple hours away from home this time, so we are joining you from Joplin, Missouri.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear all about Joplin.
And we are not talking about the tornado.
It's probably for the best. I doubt that Joplin wants to be reminded of something so terrible.
They're not going to want to be reminded of this either, if I'm being honest.
Well, it can't all be secessions and senses of humor. So,
yeah, I mean, there's some quirkiness to it, but it is not a tale of happiness that I am here to weave for you.
Oh boy.
On this our day of rest.
So, before we get into it, how was your week? How have you been?
I am sick. Sorry, guys. I probably sound very husky and hopefully sexy, but probably not at all either of those two things.
I was going to go with you sound a little sexier than usual, which is quite a bit sexier than usual.
Well...
Wait, that didn't come out right.
I know. I know it did it, but I'm going to let the insult slide off my back. It was an accidental insult. I probably am not serving nearly as much of an Iowa accent this time as normal because I've got such a raspy voice.
Ooh, that was pretty sexy.
Yeah, I think it's bronchitis. I don't know. I don't have COVID tests, so I can't confirm that it's not COVID, but I am pretty sure it has to do with the dry air in my apartment because, I don't go places or see people, so it seems weird that I would pick up some kind of virus. And I do have asthma, so I do have a tendency to get bronchitis, but I feel okay for the most part. There might be some coughs. There might be some weird cuts in this podcast. Hopefully we'll be able to make it sound natural, but I am drinking up on my OJ, and my cats are fighting. So I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I did hear a little commotion in the background.
I also had to take my cat to the vet this week, which was not fun, but, turns out she and I have more in common than I realized, and she's wildly depressed.
Oh,
so,
poor baby. Which cat was this?
Chibi.
Chibi.
Yeah.
Little Cheebs.
So she is now on an antidepressant. But
my stepmother's cat was also on an antidepressant for a while because he kept rubbing the hair on his ears off every time they'd go out of town.
Oh, that's really sad.
Had a little bit of a foot fetish, which was also pretty interesting.
I don't know how I'd feel about that. She has been biting herself, so she's got some self-harming behavior happening, which I didn't know cats could have, but this is how we learn about things. Yeah. So hopefully it'll help. I mean, she seems to be otherwise healthy, which is good. I was a little bit worried that it was more serious than that. So
yeah,
if that's the worst thing that's happened, she'll be fine.
Cheebs.
I've lived 30 years with depression. So how about you? How have you been?
It's been a rough week.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit of a rough week. I also have to take my cat to the vet, but I was not lucky enough to get a quick appointment, so I've been monitoring her.
Yeah.
She's better than she was when I made the appointment, so that's good.
Yeah.
But, when she starts eating her portion of food and her brother's portion of food, I worry less about her because that's very typical Izzy behavior.
Yeah.
But Johnny's solid. He's a rock, and Izzy is just fur and bones at this point. But
oh, baby.
Still eating a ton, and she's got a little bit of a belly. It's just her backbone is you can touch her backbone, and it freaks me out.
Yeah. It'll be good to get her seen by a vet anyway. Hopefully it's nothing serious. And yeah. Yeah, this was not... There was more going on with Chibi than I realized. But that you just don't know. Cats don't tell
They
you.
don't tell you.
Yeah, they're rude like that.
You have to, watch them.
Okay, well, is there anything else that we should get caught up on before we get started and talking about Joplin, Missouri?
I can't think of anything. I'm just ready to jump into a new adventure, so.
I think if I remember correctly, the topic was person of or family of prominence.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, good, because that's what I wrote about, so.
Good, because apparently I'm too lazy to look at my notes, but I can easily do that, so.
That was what my memory said, but
yeah.
I'm all hopped up on cough medicine, so.
Yes.
I'm going to tell y'all about a person that is from Joplin that Joplin probably would like to pretend isn't.
Well, let's just rub it in a little bit more.
I do want to... It's going to seem like a pattern. There's going to be a trigger warning for my episodes, most likely. This is minor, because we will mention child sexual assault. We will not talk about it. I did not want this story to be about that, but unfortunately you can't tell the story without mentioning it, so heads up, there will be mention of it, and then it will be over.
Thank you for just mentioning it and not diving into it, because I really don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, there's enough to talk about with this story that you don't even need to go into that. Not to say that that's not worth talking about, but it's in its own place. Yeah. And I don't know that our podcast is necessarily that place, at least not right now.
Well,
so
don't keep me in suspense anymore. I want to know who we're talking about.
Have you ever heard of Tony Alamo?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay. Well, it's spelled like Alamo, but it's pronounced like Alamo. Hopefully I will remember that throughout.
I say, however you pronounce it is however you pronounce it.
So Tony Alamo was born Bernie Hoffman on September 20th.
Bernie Hoffman, it's a name.
It is. I'm sure there's a reason why he didn't keep it long.
Yeah, I'm getting some serious vibes from it.
He was born September 20th, 1934 in Joplin, Missouri. Not a lot is known about his childhood, except that he was born to a Jewish family who had immigrated to the United States from Romania.
Yep, he sounds like he should go into banking.
He probably would have been better off if he had. A lot of other people probably would have been, too.
Yeah.
When he was a teenager, Alamo left Joplin on his own to move to California to pursue a career in entertainment. In the 1960s, he lived in Hollywood as a musician and performed under the pseudonyms Mark Hoffman and Marcus Abed.
Interesting names.
Yeah.
Marcus Abed?
Yeah, that was his first attempt at changing his name, and it didn't take off like he hoped it would, so he ended up going to Hoffman, which also didn't take off.
Marcus Abed does not sound like a name you want to hire. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't sound like something that would fly in entertainment.
Not in the 1960s, anyway.
No. Tony Alamo sounds way more like Hollywood.
It's very Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, as a child, he had reportedly told anyone who would listen about his desire to be a famous musician. He reportedly recorded a hit single called Little Yankee Girl and managed musical acts including the Beatles, the Doors, and the Rolling Stones.
Wow. That's some name dropping right there.
By reportedly, I mean, Alamo said all of this himself, but he was a liar of the highest order, so it's hard to find factual information from these years because most of what is known about him was told by Alamo himself, and narcissists can't be trusted. Yeah. As we used to say in the mental health biz, he was a poor historian.
Yeah, definitely sounds like he lived a life in his own head.
Yes, and a lot of other people's as well.
Oh boy.
God.
Sounds like we're going to dig into something really juicy here.
We're going to talk about some shit. In 1966, he was arrested and served time in jail for weapons charges, and after he was released, he met and married Edith Opal Horn, who was from Alma, Arkansas, and who had also moved to Hollywood to be a performer, in her case, an actress.
Huh.
She was not successful.
So she wasn't in anything, or she was just in, like, some really bad beat movies that never made it anywhere?
I'm guessing she wasn't in anything because I couldn't find anything.
Okay.
That doesn't mean anything, but it hasn't stood the test of time.
Might have had some uncredited roles that, like, just...
Yeah, or commercials or things that don't really necessarily follow you through your career, at least from the 1960s. Because she was not successful, she would do other things to make ends meet, such as scamming Christian churches. She would show up in the congregation of Christian churches on Sunday services and start professing to be a missionary in need of money. So already we're starting out with...
If you want to get money out of them, that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah. After they married, the couple changed their names to Tony and Susan Alamo, respectively. Sometime after this, Tony Alamo reports that while he was in a meeting, he had a vision of Jesus coming to him and telling him to preach the second coming of Christ, because that's usually legit.
What?
He was in a financial meeting, which I think is hilarious because what I immediately thought is, well, yeah, because we all space out during boarding meetings. That doesn't mean it was Jesus.
I mean, who hasn't had minutes of their day go because they're just spacing out in a meeting and then just be like, oh, sorry, I was talking to Jesus.
Exactly.
I talk to Jesus during meetings all the time.
I mean, I usually chalk to, like, Billy Joe Armstrong or someone else a little bit more interesting, but okay, Jesus, whatevs. Whatever kicks your squirrel off the feeder.
Well, to be fair, Jesus doesn't do it for me, but, you know, you can't always pick who you talk to during meetings.
Ain't that the fucking truth? My entire employment was just summed up in a sentence.
I'm just grateful my office doesn't hold a lot of meetings. I don't have to talk to Jesus very often.
Icebreakers. They are terrible. This vision, I guess, is the word for it. Some would call it daydreaming. Others would call it a vision.
Some might call it a hallucination.
Some might call it a lie.
Ding, 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 ding.
But it led him and Susan to converting from Judaism to evangelical Christianity.
Ooh, that is a leap.
It is. I know. And this was the 1960s, which I don't know how much you know. I'm a bit interested in cults, so I have read up about a lot of them. This should shock no one who knows me. But there is a whole period of the 60s where they called the Jesus people, and they were basically hippies who were Christians that were, like, trying to use the counterculture to gain support from young people. And a lot of cults were born out of the Jesus people movement. One of them was Tony Alamo's cult.
I am not a cult follower. I don't pay attention to cult stories as much as most, or some, I guess.
Me.
But none of what you said surprises me at all.
Yeah.
My assumption is most cults are born out of some form of existing religion that
yeah.
to their own.
And I think a time frame when people are in questioning is a big hotbed too. And the counterculture was that. I mean, that was right after the civil rights movement. I mean, in the middle of it, really. But after the right was saying it was over, it wasn't. Still isn't. But
it's never over.
Jonestown came from the Jesus people movement. So did the Children of God, which is a massive cult that's worldwide, even like to today. What is her name? Well, I think Joaquin Phoenix was in that cult. Which, this is not Joaquin Phoenix podcast, but this is the second time I've mentioned him in an episode.
You do seem to bring him up.
I randomly know things. I don't know if I've ever seen a single one of his movies except for Quills.
I've seen a few of his movies.
Rose McGowan was also brought up.
Yeah, I knew she was in a cult as well.
Yeah, so that was the Children of God was the name of that cult.
Wasn't
and
the
that
Arquette family also brought up in a cult?
Yeah, I think you're right. Mm-hmm.
I think so.
There's another cult from that same time frame that was the Jesus people movement from the 60s called 12 Tribes. And you know that fire that happened in Colorado like a month or two ago? That was started by 12 tribes, allegedly.
We have a new member to this meeting.
What do you think about this, Izzy? That's Izzy, right?
No.
Is it Johnny? I'm so bad at it!
My cats look identical, other than Johnny has a white tip on his tail and a spot on his nose. So
they're siblings.
Right, they're biological siblings. Like, they look identical. And if it weren't for Johnny's fur coat having a little more definition, like, he's a little bit more black and gray, and she's a little bit more brown-red. And
cute. They're both cute.
He's got a little white spot on his back. He also has a white tip on his tail, and he's got this little, like, mark on the side of his nose. He's got a beauty mark.
Baby. I do too.
He's my fashionable boy.
I have a beauty mark, but it's not fashionable. It just looks like a booger.
I like your beauty mark.
I like it now too, but it took me a while to unpack the bullying I got because of my beauty mark as a child, because of its location.
Fuck them. Kids
Yeah.
suck.
Oh, yeah. No, they do. They for sure do. So when they converted to evangelical Christianity, they started a church called Music Square Church, and they were granted tax-exempt status by the IRS. The ministry started out by handing out religious tracts on the streets of Hollywood to gain members. Alamo believed that the Pope controlled the White House, the United Nations, and the media.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some 1960s paranoia.
Oh, yeah.
Into it.
Very anti-Catholicism. Very.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
A lot of evangelicals are still like that. They say that Catholics aren't Christians, which I think is hilarious because they both follow Jesus.
I honestly have never really been able to tell the difference between the two.
Oh,
I'm
you
Jewish,
probably
so
could
it
if
really
you spent.
doesn't matter to me. But
You
like,
probably could if you spent some time in either, but you wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend doing that to learn.
No, I absolutely have no interest in that.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they're all the same. But sorry if
Yeah.
anybody's mad. Don't.
I would say Catholicism is prettier because they're the ones that have the beautiful churches with the beautiful stained glass. I love Catholic art. I'm not a Christian. I'm not Catholic, but I was raised Catholic, and Catholic art is beautiful. Evangelical art doesn't exist, I don't think. maybe it's flags.
I've always really enjoyed the art that has come out of Catholicism as well.
Mm-hmm.
Stained glass and all the beautiful paintings and all the different artwork that you get to study in art school. Some of my
Yeah,
favorite stuff
that makes sense.
was the evolution of Mary with child and how he goes from looking like a grumpy potato to actually looking like a baby.
I know the grumpy potato painting of which you speak.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite paintings. Hands
There
down,
was
I love grumpy potato Jesus.
There was a meme a couple years ago that was heading around where they did something. Were they restoring that painting or something? I feel like I remember.
They were restoring a painting of Jesus, and the woman had no background in restoration, but she lied and said she did, or something like that, and she tried to restore this priceless piece of art, and ended up destroying it. He just looked like a mushy, like, potato-faced caveman.
He looked even more potato somehow.
Yeah. I don't even think he started off looking very potato in that
Oh, okay,
painting,
so maybe
'cause,
that's a
it was
different
very,
painting.
When the paintings of Madonna with child, the evolution of them are just fascinating, because he really does start off looking like a grumpy potato, and then he just looks like a tiny old man, and then eventually he morphs into like, okay, that resembles a baby, and suddenly it's like, okay, that is a baby, that is a woman, that's Madonna with child. Like, I get it, but like
Starts out as the very, very definition of a crotch goblin.
crotch goblin bred with potato, yeah.
Potato goblin.
I mean, there's no separating the potato out of that child.
That's so fun. It's very starchy.
It's very starchy.
So with all their free labor, the Alamos were able to live a lavish lifestyle and amass a great deal of wealth. Meanwhile, members of the church were not given food regularly, forcing them to beg and scavenge for foods to sustain themselves. Alamo even controlled the frequency with which members of the congregation flushed their toilets.
Wow.
He was fucking gross dude.
That is a next level control freak.
It's about money. That's all it was about. And that's why he was drawn to Susan, because she had already started the grift before they even met. And he was always looking for fame of some order.
Gonna get famous, that's for sure.
Unfortunately, yes. In 1975, Tony Alamo moved with Susan and the church followers to Dyer, Arkansas, which is near Susan's hometown of Alma. And they founded the Holy Alamo Christian Church.
Oh, okay.
At one time, Alamo owned 29 businesses in Alma, including clothing stores, grocery stores, and restaurants.
So he almost owned the town.
Pretty much, yeah. And he didn't earn any of the money. His free labor did.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Bill Clinton wrote about one of the restaurants in his autobiography, stating that he remembered going there and seeing Tammy Wynette and Dolly Parton performing there back in its heyday. Isn't that crazy?
That is insane.
I know. Followers ran all of these businesses for almost no pay, and they established a sister church in Nashville, Tennessee, and owned what was, at the time, the largest country western clothing store in the city.
Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah.
So he's truly scamming.
This is a pretty big grift that they had going on here. I know, he came out of nowhere.
He seemed to be, like, planning a grift himself.
I think he was going to try to jump on top of the fridge and forgot that I was here. And he's like, oh shit.
He's all, excuse me, miss, can I talk to you about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?
I'd like to talk to you about your car's extended warranty.
One of my favorite things to do for a while is to walk into one of my boss's office and ask him if he had time to talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
That's so
before
funny.
asking him a question about work.
Okay, Miss Alamo.
Sorry, I want to start a cult.
I don't blame you. It sounds pretty tight.
Easy.
I mean, minus the jail time and the terrible things he did.
That's only if you get caught.
Oh, he did, like a lot.
Or if you get caught alive.
That's true. That's true. You just have to take yourself out.
Hey, if you fake your death in a very dramatic way, nobody's going to look for you. I learned that one from Die Hard.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh my god.
Sorry about it.
Sorry
about it. Tony was brought up on charges of unfair labor practices by the U.S. Department of Labor in 1976 after several defecting members complained. He lost the suit, as well as an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1985, which was the same year that the ministry's tax-exempt status was revoked.
Ooh, suck it, Tony.
He was convicted to 6 years in prison, but was later released the same year because the American judicial system sucks and is bullshit.
Yeah, it is. It is full of gaping holes that let people like him walk right.
Yep. So this is where the story gets weirder.
Excuse me? Weirder?
There's going to be a few of these.
Buckled in for this roller coaster. Let's do this.
In April of 1982, Susan Alamo died of cancer. Aww. Believing that she would be resurrected, Tony Alamo kept her embalmed body on display in their Arkansas compound for 6 months, the entire time of which members stood vigil and prayed for Susan's corpse to reanimate, taking shifts so that the prayer occurred at all hours of the day and night.
Excuse me, Miss Jamie, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can an embalmed body be brought back to life?
I would say no.
Yeah, like that wouldn't be healthy for the assuming that bringing somebody back to life was possible, because, you know, it's not. But can you bring an embalmed body back to life? Their body has been flushed of all their natural fluids and has been replaced with chemicals. So when they come back to life, they are full of embalming fluid.
Formaldehyde.
Not blood or anything else.
Listen, I don't know that Tony Alamo was exactly an intelligent man. I'm guessing that this did not cross his mind.
Thank you for answering my question, Miss Jamie.
I mean, if you think about it, part of the reason that people gravitate towards embalming is to look alive after death.
Yeah.
So in that way, probably more so than if she hadn't been embalmed, because she would have decayed. So
having some serious Carl Tanzier vibes, so I don't know.
It's so much like him.
Yeah, that dude, every time I hear his story, it creeps me out more and more, which is crazy because it's just so gross and creepy to begin with.
When I started researching this, I had heard this story before, but I remember telling you, I was like, I wonder if I'm conflating what I remember of this story and I'm actually thinking of Carl Tanzier, because it is so similar.
More than one person can keep their dead loved one aside for other purposes. Carl Tanzier. Well, for one thing, that woman never returned his feelings, but like,
no.
Second, he stole her body, and I'm not getting into that. That grosses me out.
He did unholy things.
Desecrated that body in every way possible.
Yeah, it's bad.
A poor woman. But yeah, I mean, it didn't sound like Tony was giving Susan any sort of vaginal fuck tubes after her death. There's at least that.
No, I don't think that happened.
Well, it did with Carl.
I know. The thing is, there were always people around. Not that that would stop Carl, but there were always people present from the church.
You're saying they never got any private time?
I guess. Oh, I feel uncomfy.
Okay, keep going. Let's just get past this dead body thing.
When members weren't praying, they were hand sewing and painting custom jackets to raise funds for the church. Fun fact, these jackets became highly coveted by celebrities, being owned by Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson.
Which jacket did Michael Jackson own? Because he had a lot of crazy clothes.
This was the jacket he wore in the cover of the Bad album.
No kidding. That leather jacket with all the straps?
I can't believe you fucking know that.
I was a huge Michael Jackson fan when I was a kid. Like, unbelievable big fan. Like,
I love you.
I used to watch his music videos when I was a kid all the time.
I did too. I remember they all look so fucking happy.
Yeah. I watched the Smooth Criminal video and the Bad video so many times. I probably would still know it if I saw it. Like,
I love it.
Be, like, dancing along with it.
That's so cute. I would love to see a home video of that.
There are none. They don't exist.
There is, I have one home video of me, and it is from when I was 4 years old on my birthday, and I threw a temper tantrum because my family wanted to sing the happy birthday song, and I did not want them to sing the happy birthday song. I wanted them to sing Money for Nothing by Dire Straits instead. So the video is my family singing Money for Nothing by Dire Straits, and when they get to the part where they say the F word, which I don't want to say because the 80s were a different time than now, and people said that word a lot. And I'm not talking about the word fuck, because I will happily say that one. It's a different F word that's very offensive to gay and homosexual people. Yeah. But like I said, it's in the song, not the radio version of the song, but the album version of the song. And my grandmother doesn't know this song, so she's just following my dad's lead. And when my dad gets to that song, my grandma's face just goes white.
Oh my god. I love that story so much, other than the F word part of it.
Yeah. It's a great song. That's not a good word, but that's a great song.
I love that you threw a temper tantrum over that and got your family to sing that song for your birthday instead.
I was a music snob from a very young age.
My parents used to love trying to get free dessert at restaurants, so they would just bring it up with my birthday. And I have this vivid memory of just being at like a Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant.
Oh my god, Chi-Chi's!
Yeah, Chi-Chi's. I remember being at Chi-Chi's with my parents, and I'm under 10 years old. I vaguely remember this, but we went there, and they're like, it's our daughter's birthday because 8 or 9 or something, and there's no way to verify it. So they bring over a Mexican hat that's like 8 sizes too big for me, make me stand on a chair and dance around me singing, and I was just bawling. It was so embarrassed and upset. It was so embarrassed and upset that I was just like, And I still don't like my birthday now because I'm just traumatized from all the times they told people it was my birthday in December. I'm like, stop! The free dessert isn't worth it!
Yeah, this is trauma. I don't like it when people sing to me at all. Especially at restaurants where people can watch.
No.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, I can't anymore.
Yeah, I generally, if I go out to eat on my birthday, I tell people ahead of time. If you say a word about it being my birthday, I'm leaving.
Friendship over.
Making a boundary here, and I expect it to be accepted and followed.
I will accept a free dessert with no singing.
Oh yeah, usually the servers don't want to sing anyway. If you tell them it's your birthday and say, please don't sing to me, they will happily bring you a slice of cheesecake and not sing.
How many times I had that happen to me? So many, but I'm still traumatized by that one at Chi-Chi's.
It's exceptional.
Chi-Chi's of all places, too. I'm like,
Chi-Chi's. When I worked at Cracker Barrel in college, I had a woman come in. It was an 8-top that I was waiting on. And the woman who was organizing this party, before everyone else got there, came to me and said, I want you to sing the birthday song, but it's their 50th anniversary, so I want you to change the words to match their 50th anniversary. And
happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you.
We said happy 50th wedding anniversary to you. And I was like, no. And you know how much that woman tipped me?
How much?
A religious tract and a 50-cent piece.
Oh, she's a monster.
Yeah. Cracker Barrel was the worst. I got the worst tips. I used to have a shoebox full of Jesus chip tracts from Cracker Barrel that people would leave on the table instead of tips.
I tried Cracker Barrel for the first time this past summer.
It's not worth it.
It was good, but it wasn't something I would ever go out of my way to go to again.
I like the little shop in front. Like, you can get some good candy in there. And some of the food was good. I mean, it's whatever, you know. Michael Jackson owned the jacket, so did Mike Tyson, Miley Cyrus, Dolly Parton, Sonny Bono, Nicki Minaj.
Wow.
And Burt Reynolds, as well as many others. Everybody that was famous wanted to be photographed in a Tony Alamo original jacket.
That is bonkers.
Basically, the jackets Michael Jackson had in the Bad album was one type, but the more popular ones were basically bedazzled denim jackets, and they were tacky as hell.
Oh my god.
I don't get it.
I'm gonna Google it real quick.
I found some on eBay today, and do you want to guess how much they were?
Thousands of dollars, I'm guessing.
Yes, but be more specific than that.
$30,000.
No, $2,600. But I'm still surprised.
It wasn't that far. Oh, yeah, it was.
$2,600 is a lot of money for a stupid bedazzled jacket.
Yeah, it is. He is a fucking monster.
So, obviously, attempting to resurrect Susan didn't really work.
Huh, I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Alamo blamed his followers.
Oh my
So,
God, found images of his jacket.
They're fugly, right?
Yeah, they're really gross. I think, oh, they just look really similar. It looks like they're just, like, painted with, like, scenery and stuff.
There's all different ones. Like, the one that Nicki Minaj had on had a Barbie on it.
They have a Chicago jacket. That's crazy.
Yeah.
God, Mr. T. I have the same birthday as Mr. T.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have the same birthday as Brad Pitt.
That's interesting.
So because Alamo blamed his followers, he punished them by telling them and making them construct a mausoleum for Susan's corpse. But Tony held out hope.
Reasonable.
Yeah. But Tony held out hope for her resurrection until eventually her family was granted custody of her body and she was subsequently interred in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After Susan died, Tony devolved even more, somehow, as if that was even possible. He changed the church's name again, this time to Tony Alamo Christian Ministries, which still exists today. He began taking child wives, even forcing one of them to have plastic surgery to look like Susan Alamo. Here's what I want to know. How the fuck did he force a child to have plastic surgery? Like, what fucking doctor would do that?
Yeah, I don't know that any reputable plastic surgeon would agree to mess with a child's face in that degree. I mean, it's irresponsible. It's incredibly irresponsible.
Especially because she's clearly not able to give her own goddamn consent. She's not a grown-up.
No.
Ugh.
And where are her parents?
Well, I didn't want to get too far. Yeah, I don't want to get too far into it, but basically, most of the girls that he abused, they were members. The mom and dad were members, and he excommunicated the dads, so it was only the mom and the kid. Classic. And it made it easier for him to manipulate the children and the mom. Yeah. I don't want to talk about that too much because I feel like there's enough shit to talk about with Tony Alamo that we don't really need to go into the really awful things. But he was arrested and found guilty on 10 counts of sex trafficking minors. And then he died in custody on May 2nd, 2017. Thank God. Sorry, but not sorry. Good riddance, I say.
There are some people where it's okay to say, I'm glad they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the type of person that ever celebrates somebody's death, but I don't think saying, whew, is celebrating. It's just...
No.
The world is a better place without him in it.
Not like popping streamers out and, like, clinking champagne going,
exactly.
It's just like, the world's a better place without him around.
Oh, yeah. And he was already in his 70s by the time he was even in custody, so... He's a shithead of the highest order. And
wait, when did Susan die again?
1982.
Wow, that's a long time between his death and her death.
Yeah, it was about 25 years.
Yeah.
It was a bad 25 years.
Yeah.
He did a lot of terrible things in that time frame. Multiple kids.
Yeah.
There were many.
The one who definitely had to have plastic surgery is forever stuck looking like Susan.
There was a really good book that I added to my reading list. There's almost a 0% chance I'm going to remember the name of it now. So I did find a book that was referenced called Whispering in the Daylight, The Children of Tony Alamo Christian Ministries and Their Journey by Debbie Shiver, who I believe is one of his victims. I did not read that book. I've added it to my reading list. A lot of the research that I got from this, just to give them a shout out, was from Parcast podcast called Cults. They have a 2-episode series on Tony Alamo. It's a really good episode. They go into way more detail about the stuff I don't want to talk about, and if you're interested in learning more about that, I say definitely run over there and listen to the full podcast. A lot of the stuff I talked about, they didn't go into as much detail about because their focus is more on the crimes that cults commit. So definitely worth looking into. But my memory of Tony Alamo fell entirely on his treatment of Susan's corpse and the jackets, the fucking weird ass jackets that Miley Cyrus, she's like 25, 30. She has one. Yeah. She's a young person. So this is still happening. It's wild to me. Not exactly the legacy that Joplin wants. I'm sure it's a very nice town.
I'm sure it's lovely, but I'm sorry that this guy came from their town.
Can't always control what kind of turds show up in your sewer system.
No, you really can't. Especially when that turd doesn't let you flush.
Every 2 or 3 days.
That's a lot of buildup. I don't think toilets were meant to flush that much waste at once.
Especially because it was a commune, so it's not like a single person
like,
lives there. If I waited 2 or 3 days to flush my toilet, and I live alone, and I don't think it's just because... No, I don't think it's just because I take giant bear-sized turds.
We'll dissect that one later.
I had a friend that made fun of me for that. Not that she knew, but she just assumed I did because I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah, I've heard tell of vegetarian shit, so yeah.
I can't personally say there's much of a difference.
Might only have been a difference because the stories I've heard have all revolved around Dan and when he was a vegetarian and the destruction he laid upon their toilet, which, by the way, their toilet used to cry rape every time you used it. I'm not even kidding. It would gurgle and it would sound like it was going rape. That poor abused toilet. I don't know what they did to it. It definitely needs to be put out of its misery.
Dan is gonna have this. People are gonna be like, we need to meet this Dan person.
We'll have him on the podcast eventually.
He is a whole mood.
Yeah, he is. Although I don't think a lot of stories have made it into the podcast so far because I told the train story that one time, but it didn't get recorded.
The Portland is burning candle.
Yes, which I still can't remember what the scents are in that, but I do know that, like, it smelled like... My suggestion was burning courthouse. I forget what he ended up doing, but it's a good candle. I mean, he's really good at making candles, so...
He is.
I'm interested in some really interesting, well thought out, but not traditional scent designs.
Yeah, I like the one you gave me.
Yeah, that was, I think, the book one?
Old books.
Yeah, that's my favorite of his. It really does smell like old parchment and leather. And
I just have to burn it with a different candle at the same time because it is a little bit too strong for me.
It is a strong one.
It smells a little too much like mold. Which I know is the goal because old books do have a musty smell, but I have to pair it with like a linen scent so that it's just a little bit less intense for me. And it works fine then.
Yeah, the one he originally gave me, because I have one of his tester ones from back at the beginning, was page and cover. So one candle smells like old paper and kind of has like a paper and ink smell to it, and the other one just smells like cognac and leather. Together, they smell really interesting together, but then I also combined one, which is very different.
And he cut it up and put the little chunks inside, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
here's what I probably did wrong. I have a candle warmer. I don't burn candles because I don't trust Nigel. He can't be trusted. So all of those scents married together at once rather than slowly burning throughout.
Yeah.
And it was intense. It was good. I liked it, but I had to pair it with something a little bit more smooth.
Yeah. My new favorite one of his is a Bad Date. It just has like a red date and something else, and it smells so good.
Does it smell like Axe body spray?
Thank God, no, it does not. It smells like, I forget what the smelling notes were, but I know red dates are in it or red fig or something like that.
Okay, that sounds good.
So good.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
If you guys are interested in some very weird, unique smelling candles, and not bad weird, like by no means is it bad weird. Candle tester for him, and I can definitely say I haven't had any really bad experiences, except for the first version of the Portland candle, which smelled like diesel on a racetrack. And burning rubber. It smelled terrible. I don't know what... He's since corrected it, but Yellow Cake Candles on Instagram, go check him out. Don't ask him about his poop.
Or Dick Cheney.
God, that's a thing.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on to talk about Dick Cheney sometime.
Yeah.
He'll have to come with us on a road trip episode.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll have to get him on here for an episode because that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
He can explain his love of Dick Cheney and his just
unironic love of Dick Cheney.
Yeah, there's nothing about it that's not real. Like, this man loves Dick Cheney.
Weird.
But in the weirdest possible way.
I don't know that needed to be clarified. I don't think there's a way to love Dick Cheney that's not weird.
Well, I'm guessing his family might beg to differ on that.
Well, I just mean
outside his family.
It's like a 50-year difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan's an interesting man. He's an interesting human. He's absolute chaos, but he's interesting.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a really good guy. He's a great friend. But wow, chaos.
He is the perfect complement to you, though, I think.
Yeah, we work well as a team.
Yeah. Well, do you want to see where we're gonna go next week?
I can't wait. Let's
do this. Well, thank you for before we do that, thank you for coming with me to Joplin. I enjoyed learning about Tony Alamo.
I did too.
And I don't think I called him Tony Alamo once.
I really wanted to. I really wanted to be like, so tell me all about Tony Alamo.
I mean, I don't really want to respect him in any way. I don't also want to set up a precedent where I pronounce people's names wrong.
Just because they're bad people?
Yeah, or there's that. That's the smarter, nicer way to say it. But I have a habit of not saying things right to begin with. And if I start that pattern, it's not easy to get out of. So
fair.
Yeah.
Well, you want to fire up the GeoGuessr?
Yeah.
Got it
yeah.
right?
All right, let's see where we're heading next week.
And then I will pick a topic.
Ooh. I'm excited.
We're
going to Philadelphia.
City
On the streets of Philadelphia.
In fact, that's where my dad was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, great.
so
I'm glad that it's where you're going then. Where you're headed.
I can't wait. You'll meet me in Philly, and we're going to talk about people of prominence. So we get to do people of prominence 2 weeks in a row.
And there are a wealth of topics in Philly for that. So
I will be swimming in an Olympic-sized swimming pool of topic options. Maybe I'll just talk about my dad.
Oh, that would be really cute.
Most of his life post-high school was spent in Chicago. I don't know.
I mean, I talked about Tony Alamo, and he left Missouri when he was like 17.
So I will be possibly talking about my father, but probably not, because I don't think he would like that. But shout out to my dad. Hi, Dad. Charles.
Hi, Ashley's dad.
Yeah, let's all meet in Philadelphia next week.
Awesome, yeah. Well, safe travels and happy wandering.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast with your hosts, Ashley and Jamie. You can follow us on social media at Wandering Chronicles Pod on TikTok, Wandering Chronicles Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, or WND Chronicle Pod on Twitter. Or you can email us at wanderingchroniclespodcast@gmail.com. New episodes drop every Thursday. If you haven't already, please tell everyone you know to listen to our podcast. Your gynecologist, the head of the PTA at your kid's school, every single telemarketer that calls you, your postal worker, your veterinarian. I bet they listen to podcasts. Hey, thanks. Bye.